Hi there, this is Gamil Gran here at Mayfield, and just thrilled and honored to have our special guest today, Yasir Anwar, who I've known now for maybe more than 10 years, as our special guest for the CXO podcast on the journey to an AI future. Welcome, Yasir. Great to have you as our special guest today.
Thank you, Gamal, for having me on your podcast. Very delighted to have talked to you about.
So we got to know each other, I think, when you were at Macy's, and it was at a time when Macy's was really just embarking on the journey to make a digital front of the brick and mortar store. You've of course gone on to Williams Sonoma, really transformed the ability of Williams Sonoma to lead, perhaps during COVID, in an online experience that really transformed the capability of that business. Always very business driven. But you started your career at a number of other companies. I think you were at Wells Fargo, you were at Walmart Labs. You've got quite a background. Can you just give us a little snapshot of how you got to where you arrived at Williams Sonoma?
Thanks for the question. I always wanted, and that's how I have tried to work towards as being an entrepreneur at heart and in mind as an execution person. And that combination I've tried to work and chisel through my career all the time. So I started as a core engineer, started in C, C++, Java, all those languages,
Nice.
databases. And from there, I always found that everything we're doing has to make an impact. It cannot be just shiny object. It cannot be just academic exercise. So my mind went towards that everything I do has to have a business impact, whether it's if it's internal business impact or it's a customer facing revenue development. So that the coupling of the two thoughts of technology innovation and
Yep.
then making an impact, and more importantly, always measuring it, because we all can say we want to make an impact, but how do you devise mechanisms, culture, and
Mm.
frameworks to be able to measure it all the time? That was the, you can say, the core thread of the career that I
Mm.
have developed, even from a
Nice.
developer, architect, director, VP, all of that. And all the leadership roles I've had, whether it's Walmart, Macy's, and Williams Sonoma, that was the core of how do you make an impact by working through building great teams and building that culture in house and work in and partnering with a larger ecosystem. So that's the thing that helped
Yep.
me steer through my career.
Well, amazing career. Let's dive into the topic at hand, which is AI. Of course, here in the Valley, AI is all the rage. San Francisco has a number of new startups that are AI focused. But you've been through a number of journeys of new technology. We often here in the Valley hype things up. Is this a different thing? Is it a higher priority, do you think? Or how do you see this as a seasoned IT leader?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's to me, Gen AI is critical to the growth, evolution, and innovation of any business.
Mm.
If you look at from a time series function, last year it was a year where companies and businesses should have invested in exploring and understanding what is possible through Gen AI or AI in general, or what is not going to be possible in the near term and what is going to be possible in the long term. So I think that was in 2023 was a year of exploration for most of the
Yep.
people who are
Mhm.
not producing core AI solutions. And
Mhm.
I envision that long term, AGI will drive a paradigm shift of resource, mindshare, and time investment in the
Mm.
companies.
Mm.
Today, as we see, majority of businesses, retail businesses, or general businesses, healthcare, majority of resources and time is spent on core operations of the business, and only a peripheral, small portion is spent on growth and innovative initiatives. I
Mm.
strongly believe that AGI has a strong potential to shift to invest resources on growth and innovation at a scale that we haven't experienced in the past. So
Mm.
that's the kind of scale impact I am seeing, which is going to be different than many other technologies that came in. It's a much bigger, vast impact at every aspect of a company's operation and consumer. I also think that it'll free up, and its results are coming, even though some is hype and some is actual work. That it'll
Yep.
free up time from core operations and
Mm.
move that time and resources to growth and newness through automation, co-pilot projects. You look at collaboration tools that companies are producing, whether it's email collaboration, whether it's Teams collaboration, all of those things. And we also know that the consumers are being rapidly trained with Gen AI powered experiences from a lot of startups, a lot of companies.
Yes.
Hence, the expectations are going to climb, in very soon. So, in 3 years, 3 to 5 years period, I do see paradigm shift of companies' resources in time and mindshare focused on growth and innovation and newness powered by AGI.
Wow. So that's some pretty big and bold statements there. I know you created an image prior to us doing this recording, and we'll share that as part of the podcast when we promote this. Maybe you can describe the image, assuming it's up and over your shoulders here behind you, and we'll have this when we broadcast this. So you're talking about sort of this growth mindset of AGI really transforming how we think about innovation. Maybe you can describe it in some color.
Yeah, I'll try to, and nothing, an image does the best job, but I'll try. So I
Yep.
see a business like as two concentric circles in general, any business. And one is the core operations, and on the periphery, on the outer circle is growth, innovation, and newness.
Hmm.
And that also is backed by the data, where companies grow by 6%, 10%, and
Right.
that is a traditional growth of traditional companies. And only some startups have multiple X growth. But what I believe with the deployment of AGI is going to do is that if you look at that core operations inner circle, that is
Mhm.
going to shrink by deployment of
Wow.
AGI, by removing the
Yep.
mundane task, and
Yep.
it will increase at a very significant scale the growth and innovation, because now the tools will be available for
Hmm.
that growth, innovation things also. So the transformation that has been talked in the past decade has been about digital transformation.
Yep.
I believe and I work and strive towards business transformation, and that's what I think AGI can drive if used in a safe, practical manner.
Interesting. You sort of make digital transformation as sort of the first stepping ground to true business transformation. AGI is the catalyst, the enabler of that. I think that's awesome. You, while at Williams Sonoma, deployed some AGI initiatives. Any early learnings? What would you give as practical advice to other CIOs and CDOs who are out there in early deployments at this point?
First, I think every any layer of technology that comes in, for that you need a team and you need yourself to be aware and have learned and gone through the process of building some expertise for all the previous technologies, right?
Yep.
So it's microservices, platform, data, big data, AI in general, machine learning. When you have that kind of, even building that kind of base, then AI, AGI comes as an additional layer on top of it. So
Mhm.
first, having that kind of almost like that muscle to be already trained to be
Yep.
able to respond to the newness of AGI came in, for
Hmm.
example, a year ago or 2 years ago. That was the focus, to be able to evaluate what is true in that case 2 years ago and what is going to be even not possible with what is available in the ecosystem. So I would say to establish a test and learn model with a small team, taking a
Yep.
lean approach, I think is a key to establish and prioritize relevant and value-add use cases.
Hmm.
Understanding where Gen AI could actually help, then pair them with the solutions of LLM or the models that have proven promise.
Yep.
Not just people are talking what could happen. And there
Hmm.
are few, and every month it's changing, and we also hear some news where things have gone back. And
Yes.
this is also learning. So that's where you need to kind of look at what is promising and then set a test and learn iterative approach to shape the product or the feature you are doing in like use cases that come in my mind at the intersection of these two, meaning what is ready from an AI perspective, the models and LLMs available, and what are your relevant use cases for retail in general have been the content generation,
Yep.
SEO, content, product description, and they have
Yep.
proved to
Yep.
be very, very productive.
Hmm.
A chatbot help for not only just checking your order, but also some product expertise
Hmm.
can be outsourced to that. Designing the look,
Hmm.
shoppable images and videos, buying the look, buying the experience, search and recommendations improvements by applying AGI and LLM models has been an important aspect of the work.
Hmm.
And also 3D and photorealistic imagery is
Yep.
coming very common now, and that is also an area there, right? And then on the other side, supply chain and operational efficiencies by predicting and optimizing shipping delivery routes, which used to be a very, very transactional table in the
Hmm.
past. Now you can dynamically learn what is the best route for delivery. You can also do some returns prediction accuracy, which will help you
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
your entire supply chain cycle. And associate, you could boost associate productivity through code copilots, which we tried, collaboration tools to optimize communication, better insight retrieval from the existing doc. There are companies now that are talking about insight retrieval from all the documentation that's available, and also give you suggested actions, which you can pick and choose.
Wow.
Talent acquisition and talent management has also, I think, come up as a new topic to be where AGI is being deployed. So these are the few thoughts that come to
Well,
my mind
those are
regarding
some
each of
amazing use cases. I love each of them. Now, I presume there are a bunch of use cases that you had to sort of challenge inside of the organization. Hey, are these the right ones, et cetera? How did you go about sort of rationalizing that list? And it seems like you went through about 10 major use cases there. And did you apply some sort of business metric to it, or was it technical viability, or how did you go about sort of realizing some tangible KPIs against those 10, let's say?
Yeah, I think the two, one is like, the easiest thing to pick is where you already have a pain point
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
business, where you have something bleeding, where something is leaking. And then you try to your point, both the angles, as I said, one is defining the problem. I think we should always start from the pain removal, then go
Yep.
into growth, right?
Mhm.
So if you look at those type of use cases where you are looking for something to do better or improve your results or conversion, you pick those. Then it is always, as a technologist, your job is to also vet what technology is even ready, what
Mm.
kind of LLM models are ready for this kind of deployment versus other, because you can spend cycles and months, and you
Yep.
find that the lift was only 2%, which you could have done
Yeah.
by changing the color of the button on a screen, for
Yep.
example, or a location, right? So the metrics are important to your point, and I think I believe that things which are very relevant and coming to be very relevant are, like I mentioned, I even think generative website experiences. So I envision that the typical search bar on the website is likely going to go away, and it
Mm.
will be more of a generative website experiences
Yes.
where they're
Yes.
more relevant, personalized. So search recommendations, chatbots, all going to be can be meshed in a more generative website experiences based on what time of the day are you in your original location, are you traveling, it's a night and you're on iPad versus on a phone, you just want to
Mm.
buy something. So giving the
Mm.
customers something which is very relevant and they can take action on, that could lift the conversion through the roofs if we could successfully do that. That's a current
Yeah.
opportunity for AGI. Now
Yeah.
to the metrics
I
part.
love the take action as well. I mean, I think that's a really important part where not just give me the data, but help me to take action. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Right. And then the entire commerce funnel has clear KPIs at every step already established. For example, conversion at every step of the funnel, AOV, AUR, category penetration, shipping costs, etc. So I believe that while deploying Gen AI at each of these commerce steps, because there are so many startups that are claiming that they are impacting one or two steps of the commerce funnel, we not
Yep.
only need to measure the KPIs as we used to,
Mm.
because like I said, usually in the past you would deploy something and you would have a 3%, 4% lift of conversion or revenue per visitor for that particular small step. I
Mm.
believe the power of AGI to validate is that the impacts have to be much larger scale and pace. Something you were trying to do over 6 months, an AGI solution, the way I would vet it in the beginning would be that, are you shrinking my cycle from 6 months achievement to 2 months or 1 month or even days? Or
Mm.
are you saying that I was thinking 5% lift and you're bringing an additional a newness to my
Mm.
solution and experience that could give me from anywhere from like 20 to 50% growth over that segment? I think
Oh.
that's the way you look at metrics there. And even if you hit halfway there, I think that's grand success, then still trying to get a 5% lift in conversion. Also, I believe they should also be giving you newer insights, because the newer approach towards experiences,
Yep.
avoiding bias and cannibalism of other KPIs over the period of time is an important thing to watch. And
Mm.
another important category in my mind is the analytics to
Mm.
track the AGI progress. I think there needs to be a shift from existing transactional reporting to more predictive trend analysis, facilitating better planning and decision making.
Mm. Those are all great ways to think about it. But now there's a technology decision as well. You are the technology leader of all of this effort. At some level, you have to decide: do you go with existing vendors? Do you take on some of these new vendors? Do you build your own model? What kind of model ops and technology do you need? How do you go about making all of those decisions when it's an early adopter sort of market? You're doing that exploratory learning, the buy versus build question, as we always say.
Yeah, I believe and I have practiced a balance of this, because you can't be just a buyer person, then you don't need to be a technologist to be a buyer. And if you just building, then you get too much into the weeds of proving yourself and your teams proving themselves to build that they are capable of building something. They are new in the space because it's all new, but because I believe if we don't, then soon in a few years, more than 50% of the enterprises that have built LLM from scratch are likely going to abandon their efforts due to cost, complexity, and technical debt.
mm,
It's not going to be manageable. So
mm,
these foundational ecosystems like OpenAI or Azure is providing a view into OpenAI or Google is providing other companies or some niche companies who have built on top of OpenAI and are credible. Those are, they provide you a safe playground. So they also give you a learning from their own data and models at an unprecedented scale. You can't compete with their data Google has or Azure would bring or
right.
OpenAI has. So with that said, you could also deploy your own inference models and orchestration LLM models on top of their models to
Yes.
add even more value and specialized result for your business and problem space.
Mm,
So that's the build versus buy combination. You got to watch it, but at the same time, I believe that if you don't build a muscle, to my previous point, internally a little bit, then you would at some point be running blind. You won't know what you're doing, and you're just working with the vendors.
yes.
So
You've got to have
I
that
believe
core competency at some level, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So it is also important that there are a group of people in the company who continue to evaluate in a safe sandbox approach the latest and the greatest open models for relevant
Mm,
business cases
mm.
to validate the offerings actually and validate the offerings from the large ecosystems and vendors, making sure that we're not missing out on something difficult because we were too much with one or two companies.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. So keeping your eyes open and having a team that can actually do that enabling eyes open sort of thesis for you. But then there's a number of gaps still, I think. There's issues that you need to address internally, skill issues, technology issues. How do you see sort of the obstacles or the gaps and issues to getting things into production at this stage?
Sure, yeah. I think the overall core talent pool is very small. Core means people who know the guts of data and guts
Yep.
of AGI. The
Mm,
user end of the skills, because the tools that are being produced have made it like ChatGPT, have made it easy, at least seems easy, that I can
mm,
get started by generating great prompts, so prompt engineering and trying out solutions. That talent is plenty. You don't need to be a technologist to do that. But the core talent, to my previous point, is still very small.
mm.
However, for any large scale enterprises, it is critical to have some core talent that understand, in my
Yep.
mind, the guts of AI, the anatomy of these LLM models, more importantly, criticality of data, its preparation, its security, and associated risks.
Mm,
So I think companies should also invest in their existing deep experts in data and platform and get them motivated and trained on AGI. What it will do, it will help integrate them to the new generation with the new generation of LLM engineers. So
yeah.
the total product as a team, it will be more holistic considerations versus just rushing towards building LLM models. This to me is still stays to be the biggest challenge for most of the companies, despite of all the investments in the past decades that have gone. I've seen in data lakes and data oceans or pools, whatever they have created, still there is problem with data. So your results in LLM or insights are going to depend on data. So prepare your data and prepare the quality of the data is going to be a very important aspect.
So data remains the core issue, as it has been
Always.
in the environment for some time. So we talked about data lakes and big data and all of this. In an AI world, your data still matters, and
Yep.
perhaps even more importantly. And that brings me to perhaps my final question, which is responsible AI as a topic. We talk about bias and hallucination and trust and risk governance issues. How do you think about responsible AI, and perhaps what's a message to your senior leadership as they should think about it as well?
Yeah, I mean, from a business perspective, like I shared, the scale of impact of AGI has to be much larger than the normal projects you would do in tech and make investments, right? And that's the promise it should bring, and it should be vetted. For that reason, I don't even like to call it artificial intelligence. I know it was coined in 1956, the term. I'd rather call it accelerated intelligence because that's
Hmm,
what it
nice,
should deliver.
nice.
If if it is not giving you accelerated intelligence to make impact, then why to even bother building all of these models? So to me, that is that AI in that case has to be value add. Business or has should have constructive business goals. It should have measurable KPIs and transparency. If you can upfront define, that this is the what an LLM model is going to produce, and you can measure, provide that transparency to your business partners and leaders. I think they will also understand along the journey. They will also get trained and educated. They can even bring their own insights and challenge you with right insightful questions about the KPIs and measurements. So I think it should not be treated in many places like a black box. Hey, we are doing some R&D, some research, and we'll tell you when
Right.
we find a nugget. Rather, upfront define. And if there are 7 failures, it's good for the company and everybody to know that, here, this domain, it's not mature yet, even though our teams have tried 7 times. And in this
Mm,
particular domain, it is mature and it is giving us the results. And are the results realistic? All of that. So, and
yeah.
then on the whole overall responsible AI, there are other aspects to it that it needs to be protected from biases, and also corrupting training data or user feedback,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is called data poisoning or prompt injection attack in LLM, a new type of vector that has come. So it is important, like I said, to transparently define goals of an element and of an LLM implementation or AGI in general, and to ensure correct outcomes at various stages and transparently communicate.
Mm,
Large vendors and ecosystems should also do that so that people are not, are worried about what this company is going to do, and I'm just depending on that API to
yeah.
use their LLM model. And the another important aspect is Gen AI and its proliferation poses a big risk to organization as it provides a significantly larger attack surface for cybersecurity issues. It also provides new attack vectors, and it is providing difficulty to identify anomalies, and it may be too late while you have found that. So to me, data should be protected all the time. And for any new deployment, one of the tip or a way to approach it is that we should implement a safe test and learn approach with only needed data provisioned in a
Mm,
sandbox environment. Test
interesting.
the idea and the solution, followed by pilot runs to understand the scale of idea impact and validate its safety before we roll it out to the full data set of the organization or a domain or a department. So another idea I have, Gamil, is that my idea is that there should be um, guide AI type platform like OpenAI. Not
Mm,
what that I'm going to build governance inside the company. I believe there is an overarching need of a platform given it's such a global impact that
mm,
in parallel to OpenAI, there should be a guide AI platform and it can govern all AGI implementations in an enterprise,
mm,
map them each to its planned outcome, and then
yep.
also catch signals proactively if the combined impact of the AGI, even there are 100 implementations, may cause long-term deviation from company goals. For
Mm,
example, AGI in its own different departments and teams are they may be doing fine. But then at a top level, you might have goals of operating margins driving in a particular direction, or the shift I was talking about, the paradigm
yep.
shift. And maybe you're seeing that, 5 of my solutions are working fine. It's not like you say I planted seeds in 10 companies and 5 are working fine. I'm good from a yeah, so I was saying that like OpenAI, there needs to be a parallel platform in my mind as an
Mm,
idea to
yep.
be able to provide this kind of guidance, watchtower aspect, and that is not specific to a company. It is like a larger platform that could be deployed in enterprises and would watch out for every level of possible anomalies, deviation from a specific implementation of LLM itself, but also overall company goals and see if any of the LLM
Mm.
implementations by themselves or combined force of the LLMs may deviate us from our direction.
Yeah, I like that. I like that sort of measurement capability as well. Yashir, thank you so much for being our special guest today. I wonder, just in closing, I want to first thank you, but then also offer you an opportunity to share any closing comments that you'd like to share with the audience.
I think I'm going to resurface my starting comment that there is a strong potential to transform businesses through AGI. The key is to build the muscle and expertise to be able to validate, be cautious, and you have to go with fast speed. Speed is important, and alignment with all the leadership and your teams.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yashir Anwar, great friend to Mayfield. Really appreciate you being our special guest today. Longstanding leader at Williams Sonoma, Macy's, Walmart Labs, and a number of other places. I'm sure we'll continue to see you do successful large projects in the world that's around us today. What a fun time to share your insights as well. Thank you so much for being our special guest today.
Thanks, Cameron.